In this session, we will briefly review the goals to perpetuate the unified vision of OK BSA, and then we'll explain the purpose of the data field directory to align the internal records with the standard. Then we'll talk a little bit about what's changed and what's the same. We'll then review the spreadsheet and template concept, and finally conduct an on-screen demonstration to create the starter file. We'll conclude with a brief review of the validation process. The OK BSA process includes registration with OK BSA program, attending one of the starter sessions, then preparing the OK BSA standard content file, the starter file, validating those records, and then maintaining compliance. OK BSA has established the data field directory based on the standards and a spreadsheet template for the standard content file. Now, the method of information exchange and the quality of photos, videos, verbiage, etc. is not part of the guidelines. Companies will use their existing methods to transfer data and will use their current methods of collaboration to develop the appropriate content. The data field directory is the heart of the standard. Using the data field directory is the subject of another presentation. How is the field directory used to enable companies to comply with the standard? We suggest that if you've not seen that presentation, you view it prior to establishing your starter file. OK BSA companies will create an OK BSA content standard compliance file using the field definitions in the standard. Manufacturers will use their internal systems to export the elements of information to a file, CSV or Excel. The starter file only requires 3 elements of information: the field number 1, EAN UPC, field number 6, the product name, and field number 9, the manufacturer's SKU. They're all shown in red. All other fields can be added as they become available. The field name and field number become a column head in a CSV or Excel file. The compliance file will be reviewed by OK BSA to check that the data in the file complies with a technical standard. As we've said earlier, the method of exchanging information will not change. Companies will use their existing portals, software, or networks. But now, by using the directory and the technical definitions in the standards, all the various suppliers will be providing content in the same basic format, even if they have different networks, portals, or transfer techniques. There are basically 2 steps. The starter file is used for a company to train the people who will need to actually make the content files happen, to familiarize them with terminology and concepts, and to demonstrate the level of compliance. Starter file includes field number 1, EAN UPC, field number 6, product name, field number 9, manufacturer and SKU. Step 2 is to add different kinds of content as more become available for each specific product. The Excel spreadsheet provides tabs across the bottom. The first tab, Content File Template, defines the fields, just as the data field directory does, but there are no hypertext links to the standards. The tabs after that are the actual spreadsheets used to hold the various kinds of information. The first step is to locate the directory at the website. Go to businesssolutionsAssociation.com. Pull down the industry standards and then select Applying Standards, Applications and Compliance. This will take you to a section of the website dedicated to explaining all the standards so that you can apply them. You will select Content Management. And that will take you to a page containing the explanation of the guidelines and the links to these and other documents. To prepare myself for the starter file, I've done two things. First, I downloaded the standard item record template from the website. As I mentioned in other slides, down here we can see a review of all of the elements of information and a shorthand to their description. And then secondly, we have the starter file itself with field number 1, 6, and 9, EAN UPC, product name, and manufacturer's SKU. I'm going to use this file to put in my starter information. Also notice that I named this file with my company name, RDB, starter file, and the date. To prepare myself for making this starter file, I've taken the output from my standard database. Most database management systems will allow me to output something like this, a CSV file, and I have also downloaded the standard template from the OKBSA website. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go to that output file, and I know the fields that I want. I want to have the SKU, which happens to be the field number 9. I want the product name, which happens to be field number 6. And I want the UPC barcode, which is field number 1. So I've identified them here just to keep myself straight. What I'm going to do then is I'm just going to highlight and cut and paste the catalog number. I'm going to go over to the standard file. Notice we have starter file, and I'm going to put it in right here. Then I'll go back to the data output file, and I will highlight the product name, field number 6. I'll do a copy, and then I go back to the template, put it in field number 6, and last but not least, I'll go back to my database and I'll highlight the barcodes, do a copy, and then a paste. And that's pretty much it. I'll now save this, and I'm going to call it my file. And I'm done. The biggest part of the job is to make sure that the fields of information in your system comply with the specifications. This is where the data field directory with its links to the detailed specifications will be so helpful. UPC, for example, must be 12 digits, EAN 13 digits, or the G10 must be 14 digits. None should have any spaces or other characters, and all must have the calculated check digit. If you need clarification, consult the specifications in the resource section of the guidelines. Product name must have no more than 80 characters, and that the manufacturer's SKU should be preceded by the MAC code. Companies supplying SP Richards and United stationers or who use trade services should have this information readily available. Note that it is understood that not all kinds of content will be available for all products, and that listings will be constantly changing. This is why the OKBSA companies must have people trained so they will supply the content that does comply with the standards. Furthermore, companies will not be required to submit every piece of content for review. They will supply different kinds photo, video, mobile codes, consumer content for evaluation. OK BSA will import the starter file, sample standard content file, sent by participating companies. It will use some software to evaluate the most fundamental parameters, like validating the 13-digit EAN or the 12-digit UPC, field lengths for other content. When other content is available, OK BSA will also analyze samples of videos or photographs or other content to determine that they meet the technical requirements. OK BSA will return a sample file to the participating member with problems flagged. After any corrections are made, the OK BSA company will resubmit for final validation. After files have been evaluated, the results will be posted. This will help companies to monitor the progress of their trading partners. Level 1 is listing products with the EAN, UPC, etc. It's the first step because those elements must be used to identify which products are related to the content that will be provided. Level 2 is to identify the kind of content available for various products, and Level 3 is to test the files and ultimately use the content with trading partners. Since the content will become an integral part of the trading partner systems, there are details that need to be use tested with partners. To facilitate human-to-human understanding, when trying to resolve a problem, OK BSA provides the directory identifying the OK BSA coordinator at each company. The guidelines then provide the definition and a method to identify a problem area so the two individuals can resolve the issue. Participating OK BSA companies will add and/or change records as they see fit in accordance with the guidelines. If a participating member has a problem, he or she can use the OK BSA directory to contact the supplier directly or notify OK BSA. Each year, participating members will send a current file to OK BSA.